everybody, to the Murder Theater Podcast. My name is Rafe. I've got joining me Chris and Tammy. We are ready to rock and talk about all things that are professional wrestling. We hope you all had a good week. And let's figure out what we're going to start with. Now, I and my beautiful wife, Tammy, watched the GCW events, the Jersey J Cup. So it's fresh in our minds. So I'd like to start with that. And of course,
I'm excited, you guys. I'm so glad you finally watched some GCW stuff. I will say this before you go any further. This was not GCW in a bottle for me. I don't know that this was the best example of the product. However, it was very good. So I'm curious to see what you guys thought.
It was very good, and I know that it wasn't your typical GCW because I've looked in on it a little bit here and there in the past. This is definitely not that.
No.
Especially since I watched the David Arquette documentary.
That's a more accurate representation of GCW.
And saw, the Nick is it Nick Gage or Nick?
Yeah,
it's Nick Gage, right? Nick Gage and that whole thing, that whole fiasco with David Arquette and what happened with GCW. And I knew
that's not the first guy he's almost killed, by the way. It's happened several times. He does not hold back at all.
Right. But all in all, I thought it was good. Tammy, why don't you give me your thoughts on the whole event and what you thought of it?
Well, I guess I'm just realizing that it was the same company as that David Arquette thing. So that changes it for me even more. But my overall first impression was great wrestlers. Some that I have seen before and was super happy to see again. And on the ones I didn't know, I enjoyed just as well. Excellent matches. They all put a lot into it. I like that they really had a lot of suspense. But not enough women. I didn't like that at all. Even in the crowd, I didn't clock as many women as I would have liked to have seen. So I didn't like that overall bro vibe. I'm more a weirdo vibe. So, not bro vibe. So that kind of rode the line for me on that one. And there wasn't any flair, which I could see could almost be a plus in certain ways too. So it's but there was no good storylines or entrances with music. But what I did notice to make up for that is that the heels were very obvious. The story had to be told quickly for me because I didn't know these people. But I got it on a couple of those matches, the whole thing. So I thought they did a good job with that. And the fact that they went all the Jordan and Inky, I call him, even though everybody calls him Speedball, because I think it's Speedball Inc. So I call him Inky. It's my own personal nickname from Mike Bailey. I think he's fantastic. And I was new to seeing Jordan. I think I'd seen him on Twitter somewhere. I crossed paths with his name before, but I hadn't really seen him do any matches. So it was cool to see him last the whole night. I thought that was really fantastic. So just to be able to do all that one night was crazy and insane. But I think that's my overall is that, there was a lot of pluses and a couple of things I would like to see just amped up a little bit, namely female presence. You could tell, it just felt like everyone likes to this is our excuse to go around and flick each other off and yell fuck all night. That's the vibe I got from the crowd. Okay, that is fun. I get that. But it was you gotta temper it and have a little contrast with something else too. So
I don't know.
But I would definitely watch them again. Huh?
That's actually kind of a fair assessment of the typical GCW crowd. Very much a rowdy, we just want to say as many cuss words as possible and chant the dumbest things we could think of. That's part of my favorite thing, though, about going to GCW shows live, though, is being involved in that chaotic, horrifically inappropriate crowd is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I could see the appeal. I really could. Yeah, but I just wish some more women were enjoying that exact same appeal too. That's all. Women like that shit too, we also get angry and need a safe space to release our emotions in a way that also elevates a story. I mean, it works for me too. So that's all.
Well, I liked it. It was definitely that extreme. It was the skilled wrestling. It was skilled wrestling. It was all about the moves. It was kind of like it was Enjoy-esque in a sense. Um, uh, it wasn't quite as, I guess the term I'm looking for is frenetic, as wild as Enjoy was, because Enjoy just seems like that thing just keeps moving and moving and moving. This had more
Dynamic
there.
is the word.
This had more breaks in it. A little bit slowed down a couple of matches, kind of more calculated things. Everybody was good. Everybody had good characters that they were developing. Um, why Mike Bailey is not like, I know he's an Impact, but he should be in the top two. I mean, he's really that good,
I
in my
love
opinion.
watching him.
I really think he's that good. Jordan Oliver, he seems like a very young guy, and he seems like he's got like, he's sky's the limit if he keeps himself healthy and keeps at it.
He
Um,
had good energy, right?
yeah.
I've really enjoyed seeing him both times that I saw him live. He's really fun to watch in person.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so the one match that there's a lot of matches stood out to me, but the one that I liked a lot was Charles Mason versus Jordan Oliver in that second round, which I thought was really cool because it was like that they really, and that's I think going back to what Tammy was saying, they really set the heel face dynamic like right there. It was right in it, and that made it like almost like a main event match, which I thought was really fun and really cool. And not that the other ones weren't, because then like right after that you had Leo and Janela, which was a hard hitting match to begin with. So they were all really good, and because so you can kind of think of Janela was maybe the face, and I mean the heel in that, and Leo was maybe the face. I mean, I was that one blurred the lines, but then that next match with Roderick Cole and Blake Christian obviously was that heel, and
I
Tammy
love
mentioned
Blake
him too.
so much.
He was
Yeah,
a
I thought he was awesome.
he was really a good heel, and so every one of those final matches leading up to the actual final had a really great dynamic. I didn't really look at Mike Bailey as a heel. And I didn't look at Jordan Oliver as a heel either. So
Right.
for those two to come out and be kind of both faces at the end, I thought
That's awesome.
that was really cool. And I mean, like I said, we've seen Mike Bailey, perform quite a few times, and every time I watch that guy, I'm super impressed. It's kind of like watching, you know, Dante Martin in that sense of like, there's that excitement to it, and he's got that dynamic. He is like, and Tammy and I were talking about it last night, and I really feel like Mike Bailey is like almost, he's a really good amalgam of every kind of style. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's got like that luchador style to him. He's got a little bit of New Japan style to him, and a little and that traditional old WWF WWE wrestling style to him that mixes all together. I feel like he's like a, I would like to see that like as the future of professional wrestling where
He's
they
very
have it
well
all,
rounded.
you know? And so I thought that was awesome. I mean, that was what really kept me entertained with that match and the whole tournament, to be quite honest with you, because
Yeah.
everybody had the moves, It was all about the moves.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Chris?
So I wanted to say a couple things. You guys pinged on a few things that I wanted to mention. First of all, Charles Mason. That guy is such a good asshole. I hate him so much. He's so good at his job. Billy Starks was absolutely robbed. And this was not her first match with him, and I'm sure they'll have more, and they're always good. I love Billy Starks, you guys. You've heard me bring her up a few times now. She's been on AEW a lot lately. I am more and more impressed with her every time I see her. Now the Jordan Oliver winning the whole thing, I think is great because, like I said, Jordan he's really fun live. He's a great performer. The dude's got skills, and he's super young still.
Mm-hmm.
But the the match with Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham. That match was really good to watch. It was super fun. And it's also building on their match coming up at Impact's No Surrender later this month. So
okay.
That's going to be probably, I would say that's probably where they're going to pull out all the stops between those two. But yeah, this event, as I said, was not GCW in a bottle. It was super fun though. I think if you were somebody that wasn't into like the hardcore style and all that stuff, this would have been a good starter GCW event. But for me, I was like, where's all the good stuff? Where's the weapons? Where's the tables? Where's the, I wanted to see some serious stuff and blood, because that's what I've gotten accustomed to with that company.
Well, let me just say this before you I don't think that they could have done it that way, because
they couldn't have.
They wouldn't have. Nobody would have lasted.
Right.
You know what I mean, it's just like those guys wrestled four matches, man. It's like that's a long time, and like even like Veda was saying that Jordan Oliver was, before he even got into that final one, was in the ring for 64 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no way you could do hardcore wrestling and make it.
Right.
Period.
That was the other thing I thought Tammy would like, is that Veda was on commentary.
Oh, yes, I did. I was super pumped about that.
Yeah. There's a lot more intermingling with all these indie promotions than I think a lot of people realize, too.
Oh, yeah, you can see that. And that's cool. I mean, because the good part about it is these people are familiar with working with each other. So when they're familiar with working with each other, they make the matches better. I mean, we've seen this a million times in like AEW. Somebody comes in that's new to the company, and that match doesn't always come off very well.
Exactly.
It comes off a little awkward. It comes off clunky. Whereas if these guys are roaming around the indie, even if you see him in that particular promotion at that time, they've worked with that person, and the dynamic is really cool, and the match is really good. It's technically good. So that's, that's awesome.
Well, I am really looking forward to Middle of the Night. That's GCW's next big event. It's on February 18th, same day as Elimination Chamber. I'm hoping that maybe we'll get a couple more females on the show that night, and maybe a little bit more violence. But if not, I will always support GCW regardless.
What's fun, and that's we're definitely going to check out more of it for sure. We got the Fight Plus thing, so we're gonna go and scroll through that and check that out.
Yeah, I finally bit the bullet and did it myself, because I was tired of doing the one-offs. I've been buying like so many GCW shows. It didn't make sense to keep doing it.
No.
Yeah.
You might as well at that point subscribe and just get them while you can.
Plus, there's like a ton of other promotions that do stuff on there too, so it's totally worth it.
Cool. Yeah, we just got it. I'm glad. I think we can access some of the New Japan stuff, which is an attempt I'm going to make.
There is some New Japan stuff on there too. I think Strong is on there, New Japan Strong, and then some of the New Japan stuff. But also most of that stuff can be found on New Japan's website too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, man. GCW.
It's an up-and-comer, man. It's good.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable.
So in contrast to that, you guys have also been trying to watch a little bit of NWA, and I'm curious where your thoughts are with that promotion.
Tammy?
Hold on, I'm coughing. All right. So mine are very simple. It wasn't for me. But I would give it another shot. It was just a little bit too on the Disney side, not enough of the Punk side. I was disappointed in Billy. But it might just been the night. So I'm willing to give it that and give it another shot.
Well, I mean, they did have another show this weekend. The Renegade Twins are the new women's tag champs.
That's cool.
So that's
I'm
good.
glad for them. That's great for them. Fantastic for them, actually.
And but before I mention the other stuff that happened, Rafe, what did you think of NWA thus far?
Well, I liked it. It didn't have kind of like the energy that I was expecting it to have, but it's still good because everybody's really good. I think that I need to give it a little bit more time. I need to kind of get into the storylines a little bit more. As far as the entertainment value was concerned, who's that and oh man, I'm so mad that I missed his name. He's the big tall dude with the mullet. Oh, something Cyrus, Billy Ray. What's his name? Shoot. He was supposed to get. He got curly hair. He's super tall.
Oh man,
is he the guy that does the commercials and wears animal print?
No, not that dude. It was he's named after Billy Ray Cyrus. That's a play on that guy's name.
I don't know. I keep thinking about Ricky Morton because he's the only one I can think of right now that has like a real killer mullet.
Not Ricky Morton. He's curly hair. He almost looks like one of the dudes in Step Brothers. His name.
I think I know who you're talking about. I can't remember who it is.
Well, talk amongst yourselves. I'll find him. But to get on that, I thought he was super entertaining. I think that
he's the dude that looks kind of like Sid Vicious, right?
No. Well,
like big, tall. Kind of like a curly mullet sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll find him. I'll find him.
All right.
But yeah, I thought he was super entertaining with his promos. I thought that the one character that he was with, that she was hysterical in this whole thing. I think they have some very funny things in it. I thought, Taya's always good, but the thing that I didn't really like about that was when they had that big match with the teams and they kind of eliminated all the ladies right off the bat. And I thought that was, I wasn't that into that. You know what I mean? It was like suddenly they just kind of like, okay, let's have all the girls wrestle and then we'll just move on to the other stuff. And so I didn't think that was quite fair, I would say. I think, it would have been nice to have a little bit of an intergender match happen and maybe one of the ladies get a little bit farther than they were. I figured Taya would get farther than she did. You know what I mean?
You're talking about that tournament they had, the
teams tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, which was weird because it wasn't really a team format as much as like they hyped it as Team Rock and Roll versus whatever the other team was. Was it just Team Tyrus? I think it was.
Team Tyrus versus Team Rock and Roll. So that's
and it should have been more of a team format, and it wasn't. And I didn't like that they started with the women too, because then it was like, I forget who the last woman was that was in the ring, but then they got beaten, and then it was just the guys for the rest, which was that was a silly way to do the whole team versus team thing. It just doesn't make sense. They could have done. Yeah. They could have called it anything else, really.
Yeah, they could have, and they could have just maybe had it where they. If it would have been kind of lame if they split it up, but it would have been cooler if some of the ladies made it a little bit further.
Yeah, if they could have just mixed it up and maybe had, peppered a one woman here, maybe two guys, then another woman, then because I think there were less women, and maybe that was the motivation. I don't know. Still, it could have been done much better. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Thoughts on that, Tammy?
I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest.
You don't remember that part of the match?
What match? What are you even talking about?
It was NWA Power Live. It was their first live show.
I swear to you, everybody, her eyes were actually looking at the television.
She watched it.
She did.
That's why she said she didn't like it. You know what? Maybe she wasn't really absorbing it.
Coughing at the beginning of your conversation here. I had to mute myself, so I missed what you were talking about. So I just sat and listened and without ever having a clue.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, EC3, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He is now officially signed to NWA as well. And he's bringing his Control Your Narrative promotion, which is non-existent anymore. He's bringing it with him, apparently. I don't know what he's bringing other than being EC3. Everybody else that was in that thing is now signed to WWE again. So,
really?
Yeah. But Tyrus actually retained against Matt Cardona, which surprises me. Number one, because Tyrus has had that title for 2 years, I think, going. And Matt Cardona has been on fire the last couple years, ever since his WWE release. And I really thought he was going to get the belt. It is what it is, but he did just become the inaugural Oceanic champion on the Jericho cruise. So congratulations, Matt Cardona.
Oh, was he on the cruise? That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I guess they'll be only that title's only going to be on the line once a year. So if you like Matt Cardona, you're guaranteed to see him on the cruise next year, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was good, especially at the end, and he was getting in Tyrus's face, and
yeah,
like he's good at the promos, man. He's cool, man. I like.
I'm a big fan of Matt Cardona. Always have been. Even when his gimmick was really stupid, I knew there was something about him, and that WWE just didn't see it right. They tried to like put his fire out that he built himself essentially.
Seems
through
like
YouTube videos and stuff online. He got over on his own without the company, and I think Vince maybe didn't like that very much. But moving forward with NWA, I think if you watch more of the product, that again was not NWA in a bottle. That was a weird show to me, and I've seen more than a handful. So I would definitely keep giving it a couple more chances. Let it sink in a little bit. Kind of like any indie promotion, when you first start watching it, it takes you a while to get used to their format and the talent and all that stuff. And you have to wait to see what kind of storylines there are, if there are any. NWA does have a good product, so I would love it if you guys didn't shut it down immediately. But based on the last couple of weeks, I would understand if you did.
No, I'm not going to shut it down. For sure. I mean, I probably catch matches here and there, the things that I'm interested in looking at.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up with all this wrestling, so you got to prioritize.
Exactly. That's where I'm at with all of this. That's why I'm so cutthroat about it, because it's like there's so much. I mean, I got to be relentless, and I just got to figure out, where I want to spend my time. But I'm sampling now, so then I'll figure it all out.
And one more thing before we jump from NWA, since we're talking about Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green has now left NWA, and she's obviously showed up in WWE. And I wonder if she's regretting that yet.
She's getting her ass kicked.
She was doing really good at NWA, and she was doing great working with him on the indies. And now she's
almost she's kind of like a stooge almost.
Yeah,
and it's especially what they did to her at the Battle
Rumble?
Royale, at the Royal Rumble. It's like she's in there for 2 seconds. This is her big debut. That was kind of lame. I was like, man, that's kind of lame, man.
Yeah,
they just did that to her. That was pretty. Oh well, But hey, you never know. They might push her into some cool storylines and move it forward on that too. So
yeah, we'll see.
So.
All right,
I'll keep watching. I'll keep checking it out for sure.
So what do you guys want to talk about next? We got a lot of stuff here.
Woo-wee. You lead the ship, my friend. You lead it. You give us, you talk about what you want and we'll comment on it.
All right. Well, since we're talking a little bit about WWE, let's talk about the upcoming Elimination Chamber first. So far for the card, the only stuff that I know of that's been confirmed, we've got the United States Championship match with Austin Theory and Seth Rollins. It's also Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Montez Ford. So I have a feeling it's going to come down to Rollins and Theory. That's why I said that. It's going to be interesting. Elimination Chamber, just so you guys understand the concept fully, it's kind of like a Rumble in the sense that you get a new opponent in the ring every few minutes, except the opponents are all announced in advance. There's not as many, and most of them are trapped in a little box on each corner of the ring until they're allowed out. It should be pretty cool. It's a weird format for a wrestling match, but it's usually pretty damn killer as far as the in-ring stuff that happens, because it's a cage, but it's a cage with stipulations. There's usually something wild that happens. So I think it's going to be good, but that's the men's chamber match. Now the women's chamber match has Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalia, and Carmella.
Yeah.
It's a weird mixture. They don't have a lot of their big names in there. I mean, you've got Asuka, who deserves to win it. Well, I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all of them, right?
No.
That's got to be it for the chamber match.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's it for them. But you're saying what?
They've done all the qualifiers. Well, they don't have any of their big names in there. You don't have, a Rhea Ripley because she's now involved in this thing with Charlotte moving forward. And Charlotte, obviously, Becky Lynch, Bailey, all these people that are involved in these different programs right now. So the chamber match, it comes down to, like, you've got Natalya, who's been a workhorse for WWE for 15 plus years.
Forever.
You've got Carmella, who is basically used sparingly.
Was she hurt? Was she hurt? Is that why she was out so long?
Carmella, I think she's been hurt on and off for a while. I know that there were some personal things that we don't need to talk about on here. Her and Corey Graves went through some stuff in their life.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then, there's Raquel Rodriguez, who I don't know why she's not doing more on the roster right now. She's a great talent. She deserves a good push. I'm not sure what's like misfiring there. And then you got Nikki Cross, who is just kind of transformed back to her old psychotic gimmick, which is great. But I mean, then you got Liv Morgan and Asuka. So Liv Morgan, Asuka, and Nikki Cross, those are the biggest names in this match besides Natalya. And Natalya's never going to win anything big ever again, I don't think, in her career. She's really, they use her in a way that's like, she can make people look good, but they're never gonna do anything with her moving forward. As far as like a title or anything like that. In my opinion, I don't think they will, because if they would have done it a few years ago. Now, outside of the two chamber matches, we've also got that mixed tag match with Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's going to be interesting. But I hope to see a little bit more intergender contact in this one. Rather than a mixed tag where it's like, oh, the woman's in, now the other woman has to get in. Because that's fucking stupid and redundant. And WWE is sort of starting to push that envelope a little bit, and I just hope they really kick it into fucking full gear here.
Yeah, what's her face slammed? What's Mysterio's kid?
Dom.
She slammed
Ex-con Dom.
So I'm thinking that they are going to have it in the sense because, first of all, she slammed Dom, and then Rhea had that one match with what's his name? That full-on match with
Akira Tozawa.
Tozawa. And so I think they're probably going to mix that up a little bit better.
I really hope so. I think they're prepping for it. And if anybody could do it, it's Beth and it's Rhea.
Oh, those ladies are strong, man. They could handle all of that shit.
Yeah. So. And Edge is no stranger to intergender stuff. And Finn Balor probably isn't. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but as much stuff as he did in Japan and
I'm sure
elsewhere, he was, I think he may still work on and off at a training school. They all do this stuff when they're not on television for WWE. So it makes sense. And these are some great competitors to have start that kind of new era of intergender wrestling in WWE.
Right.
But the other match on that one, the match between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn.
Oh, that's right.
Now it's in Montreal. It's Sami Zayn's hometown. They're building this thing with Cody Rhodes, which we're going to talk about him a little bit more. But Sami Zayn on paper doesn't have a chance to win because they're building a program with Cody. However, Sami Zayn has been on fire for over a year now with this whole bloodline story. I think it's probably the best thing they've done on TV in the last 5 to 7 years. And he's super over, and he's going to be in his hometown. How do they have Sami lose to Roman in this match and have him, like, have it feel like it's okay without everybody being like, okay, now we fucking riot?
Roman Reigns is going to have interference. There's going to be cheating.
I think Sami Zayn is going to get DQ'd. Yeah. I think Jey Uso.
Something's going to happen.
I think Jey Uso is going to come out and attack Roman.
Probably.
That would be a good angle. It would also help with the whole, is Jey going to turn on the bloodline or not? But it may be Kevin Owens that comes out to help Sami or something. And that's how the DQ hits. There's a lot of stuff that could happen here. Maybe Jey Uso comes out, confronts Kevin. Jimmy Uso's there. Maybe it starts the tag team feud that they've been talking about potentially doing with those two teams. So I don't know. This is a slippery slope, man. You can't have a babyface get built up this big and not do something.
What's your thoughts on that, Tammy?
I think that Chris summed it up so well. I just loved listening to it. I mean, he has so many deep thoughts about this storyline, you know? I'm like engaged in that. I just forgot about everything else. I mean, I am glad that I somewhat know what he's talking about because I don't watch WWE all the time. So I don't know all the backstories of all the storylines, but I have gotten semi caught up on this one because I recently started watching it a couple months ago. So I'm glad that it is really a fun storyline. And the points that Chris made about the whole Uso brother coming in and being the one that messes everything up is an interesting angle. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not going to be clean, whatever it's going to be, right? It's never going to be clean because that'll just piss off the fans because everybody loves Sami Zayn. So I'm sure they'll twist it right. They've been doing pretty good on that stuff lately, so I think it'll be a good twist.
There's not a good way though that's gonna make everyone happy. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing they do is gonna make everyone happy at this point. Because what would make everyone happy is to see Sami Zayn get those titles, and that's not happening. It's just not.
Cody's gonna win.
Yeah, I don't think there was no way to predict that Sami Zayn was gonna like get this over with people from this whole thing. So. But, I mean, good for Sami Zayn, though, man. He deserves it. I hope that this is at least a good match for him and he has a really good time in Montreal back in Canada doing his thing.
That's going to be very exciting to watch because especially, I mean, they went crazy for him that one night on SmackDown when he was there. They
sure did. He actually mentioned in that interview he did with Ariel Helwani, that was kind of the turning point that night when they were in Canada. That was his first time on TV with Roman and everything, getting involved with the Bloodline. That was their first like actual on TV together time, and it probably wouldn't have happened had the Usos not been able to get into Canada. So yeah, it'll be neat to see what happens there. But since we're talking about that, we have to talk about the Cody Rhodes sized elephant in the room. What do you guys think about Cody since his return, the build they're doing, all the stuff, all the Codiness? What do you guys think? Rafe?
I'll let Tammy go.
Okay.
Well, as far as Cody goes, I just think he wants to be loved. You know, like give it to him, man. He's like set himself on fire. He's doing all this over the top drama all the time. Just give it to him. Okay? Come on. You know, he's worked hard. He's desperate. He wants your love. Give him your love. Make him feel the best. That's how I feel about the whole thing.
I wish I could disagree with Tammy, but I can't. It's just because we've been at those AEW shows. We were at the AEW show. Our first AEW show is when Malachi Black made his debut. Okay.
That feels like forever ago now, too.
It feels like forever ago. And he wrestled Cody. And Cody left the boot in the ring, and there was the drama with it. And everybody was shitting on him. And it was like, we were almost kind of surprised because it's like, here's the guy that pretty much was, had a hand in starting this company up. And they bring in Malachi Black to be this heel. He was supposed to be this big heel. I mean, he really, really was. And it turned Malachi into a face in a sense and Cody into the heel. And so Cody, you know, you could tell like, I don't think it was kayfabe, the disappointment he felt at everybody being upset with him and shitting on him and doing all this stuff. And I think the turning moment for him was when the dude threw the belt back at him, when he threw the belt into the crowd in AEW, and that guy threw it back at him. I think Cody was just like, all right, I can't, this is not it. I've got to figure out something else. I'm going to go and hang with my dad's company. I know I'm a legacy there. My brother was there. The Rhodes family is very highly respected. I want to get into the WWE Hall of Fame. This is what I want to do. I know people will love me. And what happened? He came back.
Right.
People love him. And so he keeps up his drama like he always does because that's his style. You know what I mean? To create that drama. So I know he's going to win the belts before the year is out. I mean, it's just the way it's going to be, and that's cool. And I hope he gets that because he really he set himself on fire for the AEW fans. They still booed him. He deserves to get something here. And the guy works very, very hard.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm looking forward to him to win it. You know what I mean? It'll be a fun moment, and I'm glad. I don't really care about anything else. So
WrestleMania, the show of shows. Cody finally gets his title. The Rhodes family name finally gets that big win.
Yeah, man. I think that's what's gonna happen. And that's cool.
I have a few problems with this whole thing though. Had Cody not gotten injured and gone out, I think we could have built it much, much better. I think it could have meant a lot more. The 3 matches he had with Seth Rollins were incredible. They were fantastic. And had he not gotten hurt and he could have continued that momentum, I think they may have been able to do it sooner. Here's the problem, though. We had Cody with this fantastic return to WWE. It was monumental. It was so big. Everybody was talking about it. They had all this free press, all this stuff happening. And then he's gone, right? He's not just gone. He's gone for a long, long time.
He had a serious injury.
Then they bring him back at the Rumble. He enters at number 30 and wins within a few minutes. That's all he's done since he got injured to deserve this title shot. There's been no struggle. There's been no staircase of he's gonna do it. He's gonna get there eventually. He hasn't faced any real big problems with any of that. So we have, the whole issue with him coming back. Oh, it was a big deal, and there was all this push behind it, and then it fizzled out because he couldn't do anything. And now he's returned at the Rumble, and we're, a month and a half or whatever it is from WrestleMania, and he's not even having matches on TV really to build anything. He's not showing that he deserves that spot. And I think it would mean a lot more if Cody loses at WrestleMania and has to go through
the journey again,
trials and tribulations to rebuild Cody as he really deserves this, because that would make the win and the payoff so much bigger, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just the way my wrestling brain works, but I want to see more from it. I want like a big, huge payoff. And right now it's like everybody's kind of predicting he's going to win the titles because that's all he's talked about since he got back. The problem is he hasn't had to really do a lot since he got back because he was injured for so long. So I don't know. I think he is going to win them. And I think it's going to be weird.
Chris, keep it in mind, man. He wasn't medically cleared till that day of the Royal Rumble. So
right. And I mean, that's a lot right there. Yeah, the fact that they're trying to rush it just so he can win at Mania.
Yeah, but it's a ratings pusher. You understand? He gets ratings.
I get that. I do.
All right. So you always have to keep it in the back of your mind that this is still a business. And if you listen, and I'll plug this, but Mark Maron did an interview with Jericho, Tony Khan, Colt Cabana, MJF, and Eddie Kingston. And Tony Khan, I don't know if he inadvertently, even Jericho inadvertently gave away a lot of backstage secrets of how these things work. So if you get a chance, check out WTF with Mark Maron on that AEW one. It's an awesome interview. I listened to the whole thing. It was really cool. But Cody's a ratings grab, okay? And so that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. For Cody's sake, I wanted there to be a bigger deal and a bigger story and a more triumphant, finally, a Rhodes family member has won the big strap. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just fulfilling that story and finishing that story that started with Dusty decades ago. The best possible ending would be to have Cody come in and have to triumph over a lot of adversity and stuff. I don't know. I mean, obviously he's great. Obviously he deserves it, but that's not the story. You know what I mean? The story is
Right.
different than what the business requires and what Cody deserves. And the story is he came back, then he didn't do anything for a long time. Then he came back again, and now he's going to get the belts all of a sudden. It's not ideal.
Well, let's just see how they do. Let's see how they do it.
We're going to have to.
What do you think on that, Tammy?
I already kind of gave my thoughts in the beginning, so I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, no problem. I do want to say this. Seth freaking Rollins is really winning me over.
I've always loved Seth, man.
He's slowly creeping up to my number 2 favorite.
Even back when Moxley was Dean Ambrose, and I was like, this guy's kind of annoying. And Roman Reigns was really, really obnoxious because they kept pushing him as a babyface and it just wasn't working. Seth Rollins was still like, that's Seth freaking Rollins, man. That dude can go. He's like a workhorse. He's amazing in the ring. He cuts great promos. He's awesome on the mic. And he works heel and he works babyface. Like he makes sense any way they do it. So yeah, of course he's gonna grow on you. I would hope so. If you like wrestling, then he should be.
Yeah, man, he's great. And he's got great interviews too. When he was talking all that shit about CM Punk, I loved it.
You know what? Seth has had a problem over the years with not keeping his mouth shut, and he catches a lot of heat for it. And he gets a little happy with them Twitter fingers too.
Good.
So, you know, he loves the business.
Hold back.
He loves the business, and it shows.
Yeah, don't hold back, man. MJF it to the max, you know? Absolutely. Why
Everything's about MJF with you at the end of the day.
Because who's the ultimate heel right now? Who's better? Come on, tell me.
I'm not going to deny it.
You can't.
No, I agree. I love MJF, but that's not.
I know you do. Well, my point is, there's no heel better in wrestling right now.
There is not. There is not. And MJF has cemented that week after week. He just gets more and more fantastic at what he does.
Oh, sure.
This past week with the whole live and all that. Oh God, it was good.
I thought it was so fantastic. All the Dynamite was all about MJF that night. I mean, really, super good. And the Takeshita and his match was my favorite because they both made each other shine. And I thought it was one of MJF's best ones.
Yeah,
it was. And we had talked about this a long time ago about we wanted to see MJF actually wrestle because he's got really good wrestling skills and he's really good working in the ring. And then he cuts all that stuff after that, where then he gets him locked into that room and starts. I mean, what's been better? Please, anybody, make a comment. Tell me. Someone tell me.
Tell me when I'm telling lies. All right,
right?
Man, we get it. I agree 1,000%. MJF is at the top of his game, and he's at the top of the game right now. He is literally the best heel in the business, and he's not even 30 yet, I don't think. So, Good grief, man. It's like I told you guys months and months and months back. MJF is going to go down as a legend in the business.
He will. He absolutely will, and he did it the right way.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that they're not doing it the right way in AEW right now, and he is not on that list.
Yep. So let's segue right into it.
Okay.
Tammy, I know you had some thoughts. I know you loved the MJF match on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know what you think about the rest of it. What did you think
about the rest
gauntlet?
of it?
Yeah, the gauntlet. What did you think about the guns? What did you think about the Elite? What did you think about Bunny and Hater?
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna answer all of those questions.
Or AEW in general.
Yeah.
So what I will say is on a couple of these notes, because you throw so many things at me. Now my brain is exploding. So let me just center myself for a second. I don't I do not like the repeat matches unless it's the Bucks and Omega. They get a pass every time. no matter what. Um,
I'm sure
I
Death
think
Triangle too.
that I already said what I said about it was MJF's night, but Takeshita, love the gear, love the taste that he chooses with his gear each and every time, always on point, and then an amazing talent. I just love him right now. He's my favorite because I feel like he's like a superhero, you know?
He
Like I
is.
can see him like coming in to save the day in some kind of superhero way. So I love it. Women's stuff, whatever. Kind of yawning over here about all that. I really miss Hater being more scruffy, to be honest.
Scruffy.
Um,
I think you mean scrappy,
yeah.
maybe?
No,
Or you
she
mean
means
like not as well
scruffy.
put together, no glam?
Yes, like when
Yeah.
her hair was kind of a mess and she had the fur coat and she was like, like I
I
miss
don't
that.
I don't really remember her ever
Her
not
hair is
looking great.
perfectly blow dried right now.
Maybe it's just
She
me.
looks very glamorous.
I think you're probably right about that. I haven't
She's
noticed
She
though.
does.
she's glammed out a little bit.
I think so. Yeah.
What were the other questions to weigh in on about it? I don't know. AEW is like right now. This is the honest truth about all the companies. Okay, when I started with AEW, and I was only gonna do AEW because I was completely new to wrestling, and I'm somebody that like misogyny and like homophobia and transphobia and all the phobias phobia, any phobias. I don't like that shit. And I don't like large groups of people that follow things that aren't mostly like cool people that also don't like all the phobias either. And so I kind of thought at the beginning of AEW because Brandy was still there, and it was I got introduced to the Heels, which was a women's group that all like had their own like club and were enjoying wrestling together, and it was cool. And now I feel like that vibe has gone completely downhill,
That's
and
because
I'm
Cody left.
disappointed. And so I
Maybe.
just
I'm
think
just
like
kidding.
that there's not enough women anymore. And I don't know, just doesn't have that same vibe like that. So it made me start to look around at other things. And now I'm sampling other places and seeing places like WWE that are like doing really well with women. And even though before that was the big bad wolf, like they're the meanies, and now they're the ones that are leading the way, with that. So it's like um you can't knock progress wherever it may appear. And I feel like AEW isn't putting up their like what they put out in the beginning, which like we're different. Everybody's, equal and fair here. And that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a couple of women's matches thrown together, and that's it. And so that's how I feel about AEW now. But then now it made me like, for example, nothing can compare to for me with Enjoy because none of those things are factors at all. You don't have to consider them. It's just a given. You know, everybody can kick ass and has some kind of like fantastic personality wrestles there, because all you got to be is good. Just like what, take an elbow in the face or whatever the song says. And so it's like that's more my vibe, and I wish AEW would get on that. But comparing the two, and then you bring all the other companies in for me, and nobody, it's like Goldilocks, basically. If anybody's following this ramble of mine out there, it's like Goldilocks. It's too much and too little, and it's just that right. Only Enjoy is offering it to me, and I feel like AEW could have been that if they had kept going in the vibe that they kind of sold themselves as in the beginning. That was a long fucking rant, and I appreciate anybody that's still listening now.
Well, getting back to Chris say, well, Cody left. There's a little bit of truth in that because Brandy was kind of pushing the women's division.
It's true.
And she had it
Yes,
she had it a
I
little bit
agree.
more she had it a little bit more there was more momentum I felt when Brandy was involved in that. And so I think when
And
she
correct me
left,
if I'm wrong, but she kind of spearheaded all the outreach programs and the
Yes,
she
women's stuff
did.
that they were doing. She was kind of at the forefront of all that.
She
she absolutely
was.
was the leader of all of it. We all knew that in the club.
She was. She absolutely was. And I think that when that happened, you know, it got put on, a lot of that got put on the back burner. And then you had some injuries, right? And so I think that kind of got caught in the undertow of this AEW wave that was blowing through. And so when those matches started to get less exciting for the ladies, now and this is the truth, and you'll hear this on the podcast, they look at the ratings every hour. And Tony Khan even Jericho said, if you're not getting a ratings pop, you may not be on next week. Right? So that was really the key. And I think that pushed the ratings pop because it wasn't as exciting. They didn't put the excitement into it. And so I think if they could get the excitement going, but the problem is I still think these ladies, they're getting hurt. We were going to talk about the bunny getting hurt. You know what I mean? And I was going to talk about that too, because I feel like AEW needs to, and this is just my opinion, it doesn't mean shit, but they need to take a little bit more precaution on how they care for the wrestlers. Because if you look, I know we kind of rip on WWE. Well, they got all that padding on the side. Well, there ain't a whole hell of a lot of injuries that I've been seeing. Okay. So why would you not take the standard of the people that have been through this whole process for 40, 50 years, right? And take some tips from that instead of trying so hard to compete against it.
Yep.
And it's like Tony Khan was saying, well, we're a competition brand. Well, why? Why do you have to be a competition brand?
Yeah, like just because you're competing doesn't mean that needs to be your focus and your angle on the whole thing. Like,
correct.
If you're going to compete, do it as well as they do it.
Right. And it's like he compared, he's like, they're Coke, we're Pepsi. Right? Okay, great. You know what I mean? There's people.
Why can't
you
just
Pepsi,
be cherry Coke?
Right. Be cherry Coke. Be something in the middle. I think that they could do it because they've got talented people that are good at acting, are good at wrestling, Jericho putting people over and the ideas that he comes up with to help people get put over are great. Keep going with that. Become your own thing. Don't be WWE. Be AEW and protect the wrestlers. If you're going to throw Bunny into the fence, at least have some padding on it. That's probably where she got fucked up.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
It could have been a lot of different spots. I tried to watch it back to try to figure it out, and I was like, this whole thing is pretty brutal because Hayter does not play. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of her strikes, she's very like it looks stiff from like my perspective watching it. She looks like she's very snug, very stiff. She does not mess around in that ring. However, maybe she's just really good at making it look that way, and she knows how to pull her punches well and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also a badass, so it could have happened anywhere.
She's strong.
Now, if it was the barricade, I will say this: not a lot of people get injured during those barricade spots. It may have just been luck of the draw that time. Mm-hmm. But I do think you're right about that. There is something to be said about the safety of the performers and allowing them to still be able to do these crazy spots, but making sure they're protected as much as you can as a company.
Right. Because all you're doing at that point is it's becoming a detriment to the organization, right? WWE has obviously figured out a way to make things extremely entertaining, have good hard-hitting matches, but you don't, at least I don't see a lot of these injuries. So, it's like, I just think that, they have to figure out the way. That's why that arena's built that way. That's why that padding's on that side. That's why those things break the way they break. Because they said, okay, hey guys, what's happening? Who's getting hurt? How's anybody getting injured? What do we need to do to make sure that you don't, but still make it look like this is a very powerful, strong, hard-hitting match? And so I think AEW needs to take a minute and look at that and start doing that so that we don't lose Thunder Rosa. We don't lose the Bunny. We don't lose Adam Cole. I mean, I miss Adam Cole. I love Adam Cole. You know what I mean? That
AEW has been plagued with injuries over the past 14, 15 months.
More injuries than I've ever seen. And it's like, what's going on? Let's figure that out. You're on mute, Tammy. So no one can hear you, honey.
You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
No, you don't.
So how can you blame them? This is like a real scathing lecture here towards them, but how do you know any of these details?
No, I don't know any of these details. I'm saying hypothetically, you missed it.
You were getting
aggro.
You were like, oh, they're not keeping them safe, and and they have more injuries on the records and the statistics. You just did that.
No.
So
what he's saying is,
y'all need to be
fairness,
how do you know?
What he's saying is the attitude that Tony is portraying in the media and in these interviews when he's talking about being a competitor to WWE. He's saying these things, saying, yes, we're competing, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing everything we can. However, they are not taking the same amount of precautions that a company like WWE takes to make sure that their talent stays safe. He allows a lot of stuff to happen.
They take?
Because of the padding, because of the barricades they put up, the padding on the ring posts, the LED screens that are now everywhere are also a lot softer than a steel railing. I mean, you're hitting a plastic thing before you hit anything else. Everywhere around the ring, they have mats. Even at the top of the ramp, usually they have 2 sections on both sides where there's mats underneath their stage. When somebody does a big spot, there's clearly like a big crash pad, not just like boxes with a tarp over it like AEW does sometimes, but like a legit giant stuntman style. The thing that you see somebody jumping off a building in a movie, the thing they land on, sometimes that's what they use in WWE for people to land on. They take the safety way more seriously. Now, whether that's intentional or not on Tony's part, it's there.
It's glaring. It's obvious. We're seeing it because we're seeing everybody
and the
taken
track
out.
record of injuries right now shows the difference. There's been countless injuries, and even the ones that aren't serious, where it's just a week or two they're gone. I mean, Kingston was injured twice, and he's dealing with an injury now. Look at what happened to Matt Hardy a couple years ago with Sammy Guevara. I could literally name a million injuries. I'm not going to do it right now, but
but I don't watch 10 different promotions to compare. Is it similar injuries? Is it not similar injuries? And I also know there's a lot of trickery with a lot of equipment that people don't realize.
Well, Tony Khan himself.
I don't have any kind of proof about this exactly, so I don't want to be saying it's definitely that's the reason.
Tony Khan himself, along with other members of the AEW roster, have all said publicly things have had to change numerous times with their storylines, their TV work, everything because of all these injuries. They've admitted it repeatedly.
That they got injured.
Right.
They didn't admit that they did it.
This is Tammy playing devil's advocate.
Okay,
100%.
so regarding the injury situation, we will agree to disagree. But the repeat matches is a huge problem. The fact that they have all this talent that they're not putting on TV and they're showing us the same stuff over and over again. Tammy, I'm glad that you like to see the Elite wrestle all the time. However, I could do with some change on TV too. From time to time. Like, they don't have to be out there every week. Like, maybe they just do pay-per-views. You know what I mean? They're at that level. They don't have to work.
Oh, but I want to see them more than pay-per-views.
Well, that's fine. Put them on the dark shows. They need to elevate some of the other talent. And just doing this repeat where the storylines are, there's no development. It just keeps recycling the same matches with the same people over and over again. They have a huge roster. Why aren't they using them? I mean, the fact that there's a lot of issues I have with AEW, and I don't want to dig too deep into it. So let's just move on from the repeat stuff for now. As far as the bunny, that sucks.
Well, you should make some TikToks though about it, Chris, because I'm sure there's people that can relate to your ideas and feelings.
If anybody is watching or listening to this right now, I should say I have been a little bit light on the content on TikTok lately. There has been a lot going on in my personal life, so I do apologize for that, but at the same time, we're all human beings. We all have lives outside of this stuff. and we don't get paid. We're doing this for fun and out of our own livelihood. So be patient. I'll be back. There is some content coming, and it's getting fired up, and I've got some news coming for that as well. But you'll find out about that if you're not already following us on TikTok. Go follow our TikTok. Back to AEW. The Bunny injury is messed up because the Bunny is super talented. We've been talking about her for pretty much the entire length that we've been doing this podcast. And for somebody like Jamie Hayter to put her out sucks. It sort of puts a damper on Jamie's reign thus far, even though she should have had the title months and months and months before that anyhow. Yeah, the whole women's division, I don't want to say anything that you guys already talked about as far as that goes. Everyone's a heel right now, so it doesn't matter. They don't have any storylines because everybody's bad.
A heel. Yeah, everybody's bad.
It's stupid, and it makes for a lame product, and it shows. And that's why nobody's tuning into the women's stuff, because there's nothing exciting happening. Everybody's a heel.
I agree.
I cannot tell you how many articles that I read, reviews of these shows, about how, we're not the only ones that feel this way. Every place I've read any kind of news on AEW, there is always some type of negative thing that they say about the women's division. And it sucks, because look at how good all of them are. Look at how good all of them are. They're just as good as any woman in WWE. Really.
Yeah, when you look at their women's performers on paper, it's kind of unreal. Like, they have this amazing group of women that work for them. And when we thought, when Serena Deeb came in and it was announced she was going to be coaching and helping out, and then they got, I'm forgetting her name.
Madison Rayne.
Madison Rayne, when they brought her in. Oh, she's going to be coaching. She's going to be helping out with the storylines and all that. It's like, okay, we've got a lot of experience coming in. Certainly things are going to improve, but then it's just more of the same. And I don't understand what trigger is going to be required for them to realize what they have and start navigating through it better. Because now we've even got Ruby involved in this thing with Hayter and Britt Baker, where is she going to turn heel too? Or are Hayter and Baker about to turn face? Because that's the only two options with them collaborating.
Right. And now if you look at the match next week, it's Toni Storm, it's Ruby, and it's Britt. That's what's happening next week.
Don't get me started on Toni Storm. They've ruined her for me. They took one of my favorite female wrestlers and absolutely ruined her. She has no character now. She's just like everybody else. And her win-loss record is meh.
No. And remember, that was a big thing. That was a big thing when they first started. Stats. And that
doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. You could be the number one contender now just by winning one match.
I know. It's like, if you're going to make the change and tell everybody. You know what I mean? It's just don't try to subtly put it into things.
As far as the booking goes, this whole thing with the Gun Club, I would love for somebody to explain this to me. The Acclaimed is the most over tag team on the planet in AEW, right? So much so that they stripped FTR basically to put the titles on them. Yeah. FTR! They took the title. And then you have the Gun Club win the titles? Yeah, yes, it's a cheating angle. Yes, they can come back to it. It's probably going to be a short little thing. But how does that make the Gun Club credible if that's what they're trying to do? And also,
I'm going to say that.
Why would you do that to the Acclaimed? Go ahead.
This is just an exclamation on your sentence. That's all it is. It's fucking unacceptable. Go ahead.
Oh, there it is. It's unacceptable.
Well, yes, that's what it is. It's unacceptable. I don't understand why they would do it. It's dumb booking. And it's like the whole thing about the way they run these storylines. It's like, you have almost unlimited avenues of where you can take a program in wrestling. And it's like Tony Khan always chooses the weirdest fucking direction. But Go ahead.
He insults the champions with this. He's
undermining
the integrity
everyone
of everything.
Right. Here's the
like
weird,
all the time.
Here's another weird direction. Next week on Dynamite, we've got Orange Cassidy, The Acclaimed, and Daddy Ass versus Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. What? I don't.
Why is the question?
Sounds fun to me.
Why?
It's going to be fun. Don't get me wrong, but when you
but right now, with everything happening,
I know. Like all the storyline that we're doing here, like where does this come from? Did we just pull names out of a fucking hat? I mean, why Orange Cassidy? He hasn't even been near The Acclaimed. I mean, how does this even happen?
Okay, I want to interject here because in my rambling notes earlier, I had an idea for a future clip on here. And it's going to be 10 ways. So like all these stupid things they do with distractions and cheats that are all tropes and going back and forth face heel. I'm gonna start coming up with top 10 lists of alternative ideas. Okay. Just to show you creativity is out there. And you don't have to keep doing the same shit with this stuff. And then it doesn't make sense. And then it takes away the importance or perceived importance, which is the most important of these titles. Like FTR is like supposed to be the creme de la creme. And you got somebody like it just was too soon for them to lose that to them. So I'm just letting you know it's coming. And if anybody has a top 10 list they want of they can put it in the comments. Because I'm going to start with top 10 for creative ideas for distractions instead of placing yourself in front of the ref or knocking the ref out and they didn't see you get the pin.
Oh, you don't like ref bumps?
No.
She hates him. She hates him. She gets fucking pissed.
It really is a dumb concept. Like when you think about it, like the cameras are on. We already know everyone in the back is watching. Why did another referee not come out? Why did somebody not come out to stop this from happening? Find the person who did it. Why are they not suspended? Because every once in a blue moon, somebody will get suspended for hurting an official. Right. Why is it not every time?
It should be.
What kind of dumb, weird... like, I love to suspend my disbelief, but I shouldn't have to figure out when I'm supposed to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a game.
It's just a lack of creativity on their part, and people act like you can only do so much. Well, I'm going to prove to you that you can do a lot.
Well, you know, all this stuff that we're talking about brings me to one of the things I wanted to talk about, which was the fact that AEW is getting ready to start doing a tour for house shows. I think this is going to maybe be like it could be a really big deal for them as far as fine-tuning their talent, fine-tuning the stories, fine-tuning the product moving forward, fine-tuning what direction you want to go in based on the way fans react to things.
I agree.
It's basically your trial run of how to do things before you put it on TV. And that's not to say that like you couldn't do those things on the dark shows, but the dark shows seem to me to be sort of reserved for people they're thinking of signing and people that they just want to have get a couple squash matches under their belt and things like that. It doesn't really feel as much of a developmental thing as it could be, where like people view NXT as like a developmental brand.
Right.
But the touring schedule, the live shows in front of people, that's how you develop all of your talent, including your backstage crew, your commentary team. As far as like, obviously when you're in an arena, you don't get live commentary, right? But it gives them sort of an idea of what people are going to be doing a lot of. And once you run a match 3 or 4 times in front of a crowd, then you put it on TV, it's going to be 100 times better. Plus it eliminates some of that, what if they get hurt? Because they've already done this several times now.
Right.
I think the house show thing is going to be really good for the product.
I hope so. And I hope they carry storylines, and I hope they like make it like NXT has a belt. I hope they do something like that. That would be very cool too. Like all those, like I've been saying, I thought Dark Elevation should have had storylines and plots. And even Dark was trying to do that when Janela was there. Remember, they had that whole
little
thing
bit.
going.
They had a stretch where they were like starting to pepper in promos and stuff on there.
Yeah.
And now it's just an interview segment once in a while.
Right. And so I hope that they do. I hope that they do. And because I think you can follow the that'll keep people tuning into AEW because you'll have more storylines. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer if you want people to look at your product.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, I am looking forward to this Wednesday. I want to see Hangman Adam Page versus Kip Sabian. I like Sabian. I think he's very entertaining.
Yeah.
So, but
you know, maybe since Penelope's not going to be hanging out with Bunny for a little bit, maybe they'll bring her back out with Kip. You know, since
I hope so.
A thing in real life. One thing I want to say, Tony Khan is still talking about this streaming deal that he's been talking about for 2 years for AEW. Do you guys think they're ever going to get a streaming deal for AEW?
No.
No, I don't. Why would they?
I think at this point, like if you're not already doing it and you already have all the avenues and ways to make it happen, it's not going to happen.
I think they got their Ring of Honor thing, and that's all they're going to do.
Hey, Fight Forever's coming out soon.
I know. I'm going to be playing that.
It was supposed to come out at the end of last year. Now it's finally received its official rating. It's T for teen. And from what I understand, it's due to some mild nudity. I believe a butt was referenced. So there's going to be at some point somebody's going to have their butt on the game.
Then I'm totally freaking in now.
It's daddy ass.
It's really weird that it's taken this long because of that. So hopefully the game is as good as it looks. We shall see who is and is not included in that game, but it's supposed to be released very soon.
I can't wait, man, because I like the WWE 2K a lot. So
yep.
22K.
Yep. That's a hell of a fun. You know, if Tony wants to compete that bad, he's gonna have a hell of a competition in the video game department.
Oh my gosh, I know that wrestling game's great. I built a wrestler. It's awesome.
The creator wrestler features are always the best.
Yeah, man, it was great. So, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to what's happening. We'll see. I'm looking forward to Elimination Chamber. I'm going to be psyched on that. I get to watch Liv kick everybody's ass, which, you know, she's up there. She's my number 2. Well, number 3, because number 2 is Ziggy Haim. So,
gotta love Ziggy.
Yeah, man, absolutely. She's the best. She kills it.
Yeah.
She should be a star, man. Period.
Love her.
She's
the reason we all know about Enjoy. I've somehow found her reel.
Yeah.
And watched it and tried to figure out where I could see her wrestle. And it was Enjoy.
Dude, she's awesome. Her promo are great. Her in-ring matches are great. She sells the moves. She's awesome. Bottom line.
And she can work.
And she can work, man. She works her ass off. So
hopefully she doesn't get signed to AEW anytime soon, because that would suck.
Yeah.
Just ruin another one.
That would be a shame. Well, hopefully, let's have some optimism here. Let's be positive. Let's hope they start pushing things around. You know what I mean? And they start really getting things more. I think a good start would be somebody humbling Jade Cargill, and then she's got to work back to get the belt again.
I've given up hope on that.
I know, but I think that would be a good catalyst for this. And I don't think they're going to do it because she always makes the top 5, top 10, all these lists and everything like that. I don't think they're going to do it, but I would like to see her losing a match and then having to make a comeback for it. And then, so we'll see. But that's my thoughts.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, well, we got a lot of wrestling stuff happening in the next few weeks. I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining. We are making some moves here at the podcast, people. There are some new things on our horizons, some potential changes. But we will still be here making content for you guys. It just may be under some different circumstances. And we're going to continue looking at other avenues of what we've been doing. So if you're not already following us on Twitter, please do that. If you're not following us on TikTok, please go do that too. If you're not following us on YouTube, please go to YouTube and subscribe there. We got some weird, exciting stuff coming up, and I would love to share it with you all. However, no spoilers. You got to like and sub, guys.
There you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Everyone have a great week. We will talk to you probably after the Elimination Chamber at some point and go through all of that. And we hope you all stay cool, man. Stay cool.
Farewell. I bid you adieu.